think a poem has to have two lives. It has to have one on the page, and it has to have one on the voice. I think writers write to save their lives one way or another, and write against oblivion. I'm so honored. I can't tell you. The other people on this short list are people whom I have worshipped forever. They're poets I go to devoutly and admire and need in my life. There was a whole surge of new writing and new audience for poetry immediately in the wake of 9/11. And it wasn't because all of those people were immediately harmed physically or had lost an immediate beloved or family member, but because we were shaken up. It's interesting that poetry as a genre should have seemed so important at that point. And I think it's because it's the medium in which we try to most directly take in the impact, to contemplate the stakes of what we're going through, to reflect, to try to situate ourselves in relationship to the scale of events. I'm enchanted, often surprised and moved, and then not surprised to discover how much poetry really still seems to have a place in our culture. Because, of course, one thing that remains a treasure, and in fact probably becomes rarer and rarer treasure, is a surround of silence, some pool in which one can focus the mind and heart. And poetry, the gift poetry has to give, and the reason I think reading aloud can be so helpful, the gift the lyric poem has to give is the present tense, is just that moment of inhabiting the here and now, of slowing down enough to be here. My discoveries begin inside the individual poems. In fact, I think that's what a poem is. I think that's the difference between a poem and something that almost passes for a poem, is whether the one who wrote it got surprised, found something new. When I put it together, I discovered, or at least I hope, that the book finds a common ground on which the domestic, family life, kids, breakfast, the toaster, and that which at first glance seems more abstruse, that which is at a remove historically or methodologically, the high science to which I write a love letter in the poem called Elegant, or in the poem called Magnetic North, the historical moments in some of the poems, that those are actually, they're all part of a very immediate and human and legible present.